Hello and welcome to this information session for the Bold, Brilliant Boss Leaders Program for Women in Leadership. I am Ericka, Sallee, your host for this session. So let's go ahead and jump right into the information that I want to share with you. I do want to take this opportunity to introduce myself for those of you who are stumbling across this conversation for the first time. Let me take this opportunity to, first of all, say thank you and welcome. And I'm not going to take time to read all the bullets on the screen. It certainly gives you background information on my history, my experience, my education, but most importantly, as a speaker, self-help author, and transformation success coach, I help women and organizations to figure out the barriers that stand in the way of their success. And I get super, super excited to be able to share the strategies to help women move beyond those barriers to really discover the best versions of themselves. And so my mission here in this conversation is to help women just like you to move beyond whatever's standing in your way so that you can move on and achieve levels of success that you desire in your leadership journey. And so let me just also share what I like to call my unique blueprint. You know, one of the things that I recognize about who we are as women is that while we may want to achieve certain levels of success and we want to move to the next step in our professional career, we're perhaps doing some things in our personal lives, we oftentimes miss out on a very key factor, and that is taking care of ourselves and really giving ourselves the opportunity to nurture who we are and to give ourselves the opportunity to invest in self-care and healthy living for us. And so when we neglect to do that, then what we find is that we don't always have the mental, the physical, the emotional space to let in those opportunities for where transformation can show up. And so with that, I like to be able to present what I call a holistic coaching and wellness experience. So it's not just about achieving goals in your professional or personal life with, specific goals that you may want to achieve, but it's also about how to take care of yourself so that you can open up the space to do some other things for you. And so that is what I consider the hallmark of the services that I offer, and I get excited about sharing what that may look like for you. So let me ask a few questions, and these may sound very familiar because as I share these, you might be saying to yourself, oh yeah, that sounds familiar. So is this you? Are you the person who may be sitting in a meeting with your colleagues and you're saying to yourself, I have something to add here. I have something that I want to contribute. I have a perspective that I want to make sure everyone is aware of, but will they value what I say when I open my mouth? See, oftentimes we're sitting in those spaces and we're looking around and we're trying to figure out whether we actually fit in and whether we're just as important as the other people in the room. Does that sound familiar to you? Or you might be saying to yourself, it's easier for me to just hide in the shadows than share my gifts and share my talents because I'm not sure if they're going to look at me and say, are you really qualified? Do you really have what it takes? And there may be something that's unique and specific to you. And let me say this, that we all have a unique blueprint. We all have something special and specific to deliver to the world, whatever that world looks like for you. So whether it's within your organization, within another organization outside of your particular job, whether it's within your business, there is something special and unique about you and about me. But sometimes we feel like it's safer to stand back in the shadows as opposed to allowing our boldness to come forth and to share that with those around us. Or you might be saying to yourself, I've got all this education, I've got all of this experience, but am I good enough to be sitting here? Do I really belong here? Are they going to look at my credentials and doubt because perhaps it's not from an institution that they're familiar with or where they've come from? And so they're going to look at me and say, oh yeah, you're here, you're sitting at the table, but. And so you might be hiding behind that and telling yourself, yes, I am just disqualified, or yes, I am good enough, but I'm not so sure if they think that I am. Is that you? Now, here's one that I think is going to resonate with many of us. And that is, you may be driven to succeed. You may be making everyone else okay and looking out for others, looking out for your teams. And yet and still, you're saying to yourself, I'm doing all of that, but I don't have time to take care of me. Now, let me just stop here for a moment, because I do believe that many women in leadership say, I got to be all things to all people all the time. And because of that, there's little time left for me. And I'm going to share with you in just a brief moment how this Bold, Brilliant Boss Leaders program can change the trajectory of your thinking around this and also move you into a different level of behavior so that this statement no longer becomes something that is a part of your go-to when it's time to take care of yourself. Now, let me also say this, that while you are in your leadership role, there are so many other things to think about on the back end of the role that you play within your organization or your business. And I'm going to talk about that in just a moment, but this is why I created this program. The Bold, Brilliant Boss Leaders program is intended to take those things and you reshift your focus around how you think about showing up as who you are. So it's an individual virtual coaching program that's designed to help female leaders to confidently, I want to say that word again, confidently own their voice, own their intelligence, and what they bring to the world. And I'm just going to read that whole entire statement again, because as you are sitting here listening to this conversation, I want you to allow these words to just swarm over you like a fresh flow of water, right? This is a program that is intended to help you as a woman in leadership to confidently own your voice, your intelligence, and what you bring to the world. Now, let me just also stop and say this, that sometimes we equate intelligence with the school that we went to. Well, do I have a degree? Or maybe she has a degree and I don't. Or maybe I have a degree and she doesn't. Intelligence spans so much further than education. Just sit for a moment. And I really want you to take this opportunity to jot down some things about what makes you intelligent. Is it the school that you went to? Perhaps that is true. Write that down. But it also may be the experience that you have, the things that you've been through, and how you can apply that wisdom and that knowledge and that insight to every place that you occupy. Let me take this opportunity to say this. I remember a few years back when I first started my coaching practice and I started to think about the services that I wanted to offer, programs, and I really struggled with how to price my services. I priced my services so low that I was talking to a good friend who was doing some amazing things with none other than the Steve Harvey. And so we're sitting down and we're having dinner. And I'm going over all the details of my program. And she says, well, how much are you charging for this? And I told her, and she looked at me and I thought she was going to choke on her veggie burger because she said, why are you devaluing yourself? And I looked at her and I thought, well, I'm just getting started and I'm not really sure if I should do this and how I should approach that. And she stopped me immediately. And she said, so many times we as women often think that if we're just starting out somewhere, just starting out in a particular area, particular industry, that we don't have the right to really value ourselves. So I'm listening. And she continued on to say this. She said, it's not just about the fact that you are starting off as a new coach. She said, but think about all that you bring to the table. I'm still listening. She says, you have 2 degrees. You have a wealth of corporate experience. You have a wealth of life experience. right there. She needed to say no more, and then I got it. So when we think about this intelligence, it is not just as it pertains to a school that we went to, what high school, what college, what post degrees we have. It's about the wholeness of who we are and all of what we've been through to get to this point. So this program is designed to help you hone in on that so that you can be the bold, brilliant boss leader that you were intended to be. And so in this program, there's a few things that are very, very key. It is intended to help you get unstuck and unlock new levels of leadership, service, and purpose. Now, when I say new levels of leadership, service, and purpose, there's a couple different ways to look at that. First of all, you may be a leader who is aspiring to get to a next level of leadership. So let's say you're a manager and you're seeking to get to director, or maybe you're a director seeking to get to a vice president role. So that's a new level of leadership. It's also intended to help you to look at how leadership and service go together. And whether we recognize it or not, those that we are serving in leadership, whether it's those that directly report to us or our customers that we serve, the service aspect is so very important. And in this age where there's so much going on and we're so busy thinking about how to get things and do things sooner, quicker, faster, we often lose that service component. And so this program is intended to help us move into the space where we are being of service, and also intended to connect you with purpose. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest. There are women who are watching this right now, and you might be saying to yourself, I feel like there's something more. There's something more for me to do. There's something more fulfilling that I'm looking to figure out. And at this stage of my life or my career, I really want to tap into that. And so this program is designed to help you figure out how to start to uncover what some of those things may look like for you, and then how to move forward in whatever direction that might be. It's also intended to help you understand and apply a human-centered approach to your leadership. Now, I mentioned the service aspect a couple moments ago. The human-centered approach is something that is oh so important right now. Let me say that if COVID and social justice issues and everything else going on in our world, in our communities, our political climate, if none of that has taught us anything except this one thing, then hold on to this. And that is, we should be more connected as human beings. Just the mere fact that we are walking the face of this earth as human beings. And so along with that comes emotion. Along with that comes life. Along with that comes challenges and struggles and highs and lows and celebrations and everything in between. But so often as leaders, we miss out on the opportunity to connect with an individual, to figure out how do we meet them where they are, not just for the work that they do, but for the people that they are. So I was having a conversation recently with a friend. Now, this friend happens to be a male in leadership, but I think this is an example that many of us as women in leadership can identify with, either because we have demonstrated this behavior or we have had this behavior demonstrated toward us. So we're having a conversation, and he says, he got a phone call from one of his employees who called out because the person was sick. And so his response back to the person was, do you realize that this is going to cause me to be down a person? Okay. And the person's response back was, well, wow, I just told you that I wasn't feeling well. So wasn't really expecting that response. So when you think about that, and there's no way in the world that he was intending to be, not compassionate or anything like that. He went to, oh gosh, okay, now I have to kick it into a different gear because I'm down a person. And I'm sure we've all had that kind of experience, but the human-centered approach says that we are connecting with the person for what they are dealing with in the moment. And our leadership and how we need to adjust should not become the person's issue. Whether we believe that person is telling the truth or not, it requires us to connect on a different level. So this program is intended to help figure out how to adjust so that we can do just that. And then the next part of it is being confident in your role as a leader. At the very beginning of this conversation, I said, how often are we sitting in meetings and we know we have something to say, we know we have something of value to bring, but we might not want to say it because, oh, what are they going to think? Or what are they going to say? Is it going to come out the right way? Is it okay if I say, I don't know? That's a level of boldness and confidence. And so this program is intended to help you to own that, so that in your role as leader, you can be the authentic woman in that leadership role that not only were you intended to be, but what I truly believe is that many organizations and everything around us is requiring us to be, just because of the nature of how everything is at this moment in time. And then lastly, this is probably the most important part. This is something that is near and dear to my heart, and that is making self-care a daily practice. A daily practice, not self-care Saturday, not self-care Sunday, a daily practice so that you can be well. You can be well and then serve better. I want to stick with this for just a moment before we move on, so that you can be well. Think about this. Think about the moments where you've been stressed. Think about the moments where you've been frustrated. Think about those times when you have gotten up, perhaps 6 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning, and you've gone all the way through perhaps until 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock p.m. at night, and you've been moving constantly from one thing to the next, and nowhere in that time frame have you taken the time out for you. So when that happens, while you might feel like, oh, this is just the way I operate, this is the way, I get things done, this is just the way it has to be because I have so many things to do, so many people to answer to, so many people are trying to answer to me, and I just need to do it this way. Well, you might feel like that's working for a while, but let me be perfectly honest. When you and I do not take the time out for us, to nurture ourselves, to sit still, to focus intentionally on healthy living and well-being for us, then at some point, we're going to burn out. We may be short with the people that we're leading or those that we have to report to. We may avoid altogether because we just have nothing left in the tank and I just don't even want to deal with it. Does that sound familiar? Or you might be sitting at your desk, you might be sitting in a meeting, you might be having a conversation on a conference call, you may be on a Zoom session, and you might be listening and you hear certain things, but you're really not taking in information. It could be that you have weighed yourself down so much with the order of the day, with the order of yesterday, the day before that, the week before that, and that you have no capacity to take anything else in. And so this program is intended to help you to understand, number one, some of the things that you may have to get rid of emotionally, mentally, to recognize how important self-care is, and then to embody it so that you can do what you need to do for yourself, and then you can show up and be the best leader that you can possibly be. That's the part that I really get excited about. So what does this leadership thing look like? When we talk about leadership, well, we're talking about the woman who is a CEO. We're talking about the woman who is in the C-suite. So whether you are an executive vice president, a senior vice president, a vice president, we're talking about the director, the manager, the supervisor. We're talking about the executive director. And we're also talking about the woman who is an entrepreneur. Now, if you look at this list of things, you clearly know that there are so many things that go along with each of these roles. There is a demand. Now, dare I say, when I say CEO, I'm like, there's room for more of us in the CEO role. There's room for more of us actually in each and every one of these roles. But when you think about all that comes along with it, think about not just the people who report to you and everything that's involved with that. There's performance appraisals, there's professional development stuff that has to be done each and every year. There's work that you're monitoring, there's customer service, there's metrics, there's budget, there's all the things that come along with each of these roles. But on top of all of the things that come along with whichever one of these roles you hold, you are also a woman who might be a mother, a wife, a companion. You might be involved in your church. You may be involved in your sorority or other organizations. You may be a community organizer. You may be doing things at your children's school or other organizations and activities that they're involved in. All of these things are part of who we are as women in leadership. So it's not just about all of what comes along with these roles, but it is about what comes along with the roles that we have just as women in general. And when you think about it, these are very tall orders to fill. And this goes back to the reason why the whole self-care component is oh so crucial. Okay, so let me talk about what's included in the Bold, Brilliant Boss Leaders program. So I've outlined it here. I'm going to go through really, really quickly just so you have a clear understanding of exactly what's included. I'm going to give you a moment to just kind of glance at the list, and then we'll go through each of the components. All right. So the program includes a 60-minute planning session. This is a pre-coaching planning session. So this is an opportunity for me to sit down with you to say, what is it that you want to get accomplished? Now, what I recognize is that oftentimes there is a professional development aspect to your career. So you may have been sitting down with your leader, and perhaps there are specific goals that are included in a performance development plan or professional development plan. And so sitting down with you in this pre-coaching session allows us to have that conversation. So it may be a combination of that. It may be a combination of things that you've identified that you want to work on. And so we kind of have that discussion to discover what that looks like for you. So that 60-minute planning session before the coaching starts is something that's very, very crucial. Next, the program includes bi-weekly 75-minute, an hour and 15-minute coaching sessions. So every other week, we're sitting down and we're having a full hour and 15-minute session, and we're really focusing on the things that come out of the planning session. And the reality of it is, while we do use that planning session to structure how we want the engagement to go, inevitably, this happens each and every time I work with the client. There are other things that will come out as a result of some of the other things that we're working on. That's perfectly okay. And I love when that happens, because that means there's new discoveries and those aha moments that can really, really make a pivotal difference in your transformation. The next one doesn't really apply in standard content, so I'm going to move on to personalized content. So based on that planning session, that 60-minute planning session that we will sit down and have, then we personalize the content for you. And I love it because there's so much standard content that I have that I can then pull those pieces and really hone in on what's going to make your experience, your coaching experience, the very best to meet your needs. And so I love to do that because it just makes the sessions that much more personal and geared toward your needs. Weekly development work. So the weekly development work is when we go away from the coaching session and there's things that you have to do. Transformation does not come without action. So as much as I, talk and I share strategies and tools and methods, and we have a great engagement during the session itself, it is even more beneficial to walk away from that with some action steps to say, okay, here is what I'm going to do to implement what we just talked about in the coaching session. That's what the weekly development work is all about. Also includes 20-minute accountability sessions on the alternate weeks from the bi-weekly coaching session. So as you're listening to this, you understand that there's lots of support that you are getting through the Bold, Brilliant Boss Leaders program. So bi-weekly, we're meeting for an hour and 15 minutes. We have those 20-minute accountability sessions in between. And here's why that's important. Because as you go along, there are going to be moments where you're going to have successes and you're going to want to celebrate those, and I'm going to want to celebrate them with you. There are moments where you're going to have challenges. There are going to be risks that come up. And in those accountability sessions, we can talk about, okay, I'm going to celebrate you for this because you were able to do this, this, and this. But when you're having challenges, or where you're still uncertain, or where there's specific examples that are happening that you can bring to the table and say, this is what happened today, and I'm really not sure how to handle this, or this is how I handled it. I wasn't really sure about it. Let's talk about it. And so those accountability sessions allow us to be able to bring those types of things to the table, and we get to check in with each other so that you can report on that weekly development work that you are engaged in. Also includes flexible plans, and I'm going to talk about what that means in just a moment. There are also weekly sessions that are available. So while we're having bi-weekly sessions and we're having the accountability sessions, you may get to a point where you say, oh gosh, I've got this particular meeting coming up and it's during an off coaching session week, but I could really use support here. And so if you need that, then you can schedule an additional session in the week that we're not doing the bi-weekly session. So that means that you can either add that time to the accountability session to give you more support, or it can be in lieu of the accountability session, and it could just be an extended accountability with some other support wrapped up in there. So that is the weekly session that is available. Also, part of the Bold Brilliant Boss Leaders program includes concierge service. What this means is that you have access to me through email, through phone calls, through text messages, up until 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, as needed. All right. This is something, again, it's sort of like adding in that additional coaching session during the off week where we're doing our bi-weekly sessions. It may be a situation where you just have a question about something, or you've had an encounter and you're trying to deal with a particular scenario, and you might just need to get a really quick response from a text message, or you might just need a quick phone call. So the concierge service allows you to do that as part of the Bold Brilliant Boss Leaders program. Here's something that I think is really important to remember. Sometimes when we're in the midst of something, it's like, I just need this really, really quickly. And this is why I love being able to offer the concierge service, because I know how it is when I'm reaching out and I need to ask questions for things that I'm working on. And I'm like, if I just get this really, really quickly, then I can take the next step. Okay. So I think that's a wonderful thing to be able to offer you in this program. The program also includes 45-minute post-coaching check-in sessions, 45-minute post-coaching check-in sessions. This is up to 3 sessions. So in a moment, I'm going to tell you what that looks like, and it really depends on which of the monthly options you choose, and that determines how many of these post-coaching check-in sessions you get. What that simply means is that when our engagement is over, I like to come back, 30, 45 days after we've finished, and talk about what's happening, what's going on. How do you actually see the difference in how you're showing up as a result of having been through the program versus where you were when you started. So I get excited about that too, because it really shows a real demonstration of transformation. And it can also show a demonstration of specific areas that still need to be developed. And that's okay too. The other piece of the program includes something fun, which I love, because I also want to make sure that you're investing in this whole idea of self-care. As I mentioned, mentioned a little bit ago. And this is the executives exclusive. It is a curated self-care gift set that is compliments of the Citizen Room, which is my creation that is specifically geared to focus on self-care. And so these are just things to help enhance your self-care experience. And so this is part of the program. I think this is just a wonderful way, not just to take care of yourself and to focus on self-care, but I think it's also my way of saying, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for just saying yes to you. And this is what makes this special and makes you special as well. And then lastly is the Power Roundtable. Now, the Power Roundtable is an opportunity for all of the women in the program to come together and to engage in a roundtable discussion. It's an opportunity for networking. It's an opportunity to share across experiences and to gain insight from other women who are, one, a part of the program, and two, who may be in different industries, experiencing different types of challenges, and they can bring some more insight to the conversation as well. And it's an opportunity for us to be in sacred space, to let our hair down. Oftentimes as women and women in leadership, we often miss the opportunities to carve out those spaces that we need for ourselves. So whether the Power Roundtable includes us coming together in a Zoom format, sipping on some coffee, having some wine, and just having conversation that is safe, that is free, that is authentic, and in some cases very vulnerable. And I welcome that. And that's what makes this roundtable component so exciting. So I want to take a moment to just thank some of the women that I've had the opportunity to work with. I'm not going to go through all of what they said, but I always like to take a minute to just say thank you. And number two, to express my gratitude for the ability to have worked with some amazing women who are doing some rock star kind of stuff. And I get excited about that. And so I always like to take an opportunity to just express my gratitude for having been connected to their transformation journey. So let's talk about the investment when it comes to the Bold, Brilliant Boss Leaders program. So first of all, there are 3 plan options, okay? 3 plan options. There is a 3, a 6, and a 9-month plan option. One of the things that I need to mention, and I'm going to go back just a few slides to show you what's included. I do need to note this, that in the program, there are only 8 slots available, okay? 8 slots per cycle. And I'm going to talk about what that cycle looks like, but 8 slots per cycle, okay? So when I say that, looking at the plans, 3, 6, and 9 months, okay? So depending on what your goals are, the 3, 6, or 9-month plan may be exactly what you need. And again, it goes back to 1, what you're trying to get accomplished, and 2, if there is a more extensive professional development track that you're on within your organization, then that's going to determine which one of these plans may fit your needs best, okay? So the 3-month option is $7,500, and there is a flexible investment plan available as well, which you can see here on the screen. There's also a 6-month option. That option is $9,500. There is also a flexible plan for that. And then the 9-month option is $11,500. So all of the plans, the cost-efficient approach to each of the plans is listed here, as well as opportunities for flexible investment. That's always going to be an option. So there's a couple things I want to mention here. So if you'll recall, I said down here with the 45-minute post-coaching check-in sessions up to 3. So if you are enrolled in the 3-month coaching program, then you get 1 post-coaching 45-minute check-in session. If you're in the 6-month plan, then you get 2 post-coaching sessions. And then in the 9-month, you actually get 3. So when you think about that, if you just think for a moment about all of the sessions that you're getting, you are getting the bi-weekly sessions, you're getting the accountability sessions, you're getting the as-needed weekly sessions based on what's happening in your space, you're getting the concierge service, which allows you access to get, on-demand information. And you're also getting the ability to have a post-coaching engagement after your planned session is over. So that's really an opportunity to get all of the resources, all the support, all of the strategies that you need in order to be, here it is, that bold, brilliant boss leader that you need to be. And dare I say this, one of the things that I have come to realize, and I think this is post-COVID, is that, prior to COVID, we used to kind of keep personal and professional separate just because it felt like the professional thing to do. The reality of it is our lives are so intertwined. And so it's not easy to separate personal and professional lives these days because they all blend in together. So whatever you get from this program that you can apply within your organization or within your business can also transcend into your personal life as well. So that means that you are experiencing transformation on a number of different levels. Remember when I said not only are you CEO or executive vice president or senior vice president and on and on and on, but you're also a woman who has a life outside of your organization or your business. So anything that you learn in this space is going to transcend into your personal. And actually, if I think about it and I realize how the program typically unfolds, a lot of the way that we show up in our professional life stems from things that are going on in our personal lives. So just to drop that little nugget right there, that's a lot of what shows up in this program when I work with other women. So here are the investment levels. Again, there are 8 spots available, and it's a floating 8. So let me explain that. So let's say, for instance, there are 4 women enrolled in the 3-month program, and then there's 4 women enrolled in the 6-month program. As those programs end and another cycle begins, then that may open up more spaces as folks in the 3-month plans roll off, and then more spaces can open up. So again, at any given time, there are 8 spots available. So I just want to make sure that that was clear. And then the other thing I want to mention before we wrap up in just a few moments is that there are additional discounts available for multi-enrollment. So if you are in an organization and you know that there are a couple of women who are either right now in leadership or on a leadership track or about to enter a leadership track, and perhaps you have 2 people or 3 women who could benefit from the Bold Brilliant Boss Leaders program, then additional discount is available for your organization if that is the case. And so I want to make sure that that's clear as well. So what is next? So if you've listened to the information that I've shared and you know that you can identify yourself in any one or all of the areas that I've covered, then I want you to email me with questions or any inquiries, right? So if you say, I heard this during the information session, I just want to make sure I heard this correctly. And oh, by the way, here's some things that we're thinking about within my organization or within my business, and I just have some questions about that. So email me at truesynergy@comcast.net. Then we can schedule a discovery session so that we can discuss your specific professional development needs, okay? That's very, very important because it helps me, number one, to get to know who you are as a woman before anything else. And then it helps me to understand what it is you want to get accomplished as a dynamic, effective, bold, brilliant boss leader that you are within your organization or your business. And then we discuss the path forward. So, here's what I want to say before we wrap up in closing. Is that so many of us are sitting in spaces, and sometimes we feel good about those spaces that we're sitting in. Sometimes we're looking and we're saying to ourselves, oh gosh, do I really belong here? What's happening? I don't really know. That is so human and so normal. What we want to move away from is staying stuck in that place where we're asking so many questions and we're doubting ourselves so much that we really don't step forward to be who we already are. And who we already are is often hidden underneath of some of the other stuff that we face as women and as we face as women in leadership. And so I'm inviting you, again, I'm going to say to you to email me with your questions or any inquiries that you have about this program and how it fits into where you are right now. I want you to email me at truesynergy@comcast.net. We'll set up a discovery session so we can have a more in-depth conversation, and then we will discuss a path forward for you. So with that being said, I'm going to invite you to check out my website at www.truesynergy.org. If you have questions about this program and any other opportunity that is available to you through True Synergy, then do visit the website at truesynergy.org. You can also follow me on LinkedIn and YouTube at Ericka Sallee, and on Instagram at TrueSynergy_. It has been my pleasure to present this information to you. I look forward to seeing you all again real soon. Until I do, take care of yourselves, and yes, be well.